This is Disney Speedstorm. We're here on Xbox Series X. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So what are we getting here? It is a free-to-play racing game with a variety of different bundle packs that are available. And it is in early access game preview, so it is going to change and develop over time as well. It's a 4K resolution, 60 FPS, and it is quite butterly smooth and actually really well done. If you've been looking for a great kart racing game, this one absolutely hits the mark. It's got a great variety of tracks, racing options, and it uses the Disney IP very effectively. We do have the streamer mode on, so it still has some music, but there's even more intensive music that is available. And it seems like some remixes of maybe some popular Disney type stuff. It is very creative, and like I said, a very interesting racing title. We're starting off with showing the kind of the quick play, so that we can present a bunch of the different tracks that are available, but the game does have like a bit of a chapter-based story setup where you're kind of working with different individuals and kind of getting these like shards and points and stuff like that in order to further improve and customize your racers and your vehicles along the way, which is quite interesting. And we are kind of ahead of the launch. There is multiplayer, so you can go up to 8 players online, but there's not really people present because, again, I'm ahead of even the preview launch of the actual game itself. It says local multiplayer is up to 2 players, but it does seem to have the option to do 4 players when I went to quick play, so that's something interesting to keep in mind. So I don't know if that's like a long-term thing or what's going on there. But yeah, the store page kind of notes 2, but in-game it says 4. So not exactly too sure what's going on in that situation. There's also HDR support, which I forgot to mention. And yeah, it's just like a very sleek, very fast-paced, well put together kart racing game. I was genuinely surprised, actually. I was kind of like, you know, I thought it had a lot of potential. We recently had, you know, Dreamland, the kind of Animal Crossing-esque Disney thing come out, which was, you know, exceeded expectations, and then this one as well. I'm kind of like, wow, they've actually got something really good going. And assuming they can, like, actually get, you know, like a steady amount of, I guess you would say, like, content kind of coming to this one, and, you know, keep updating it and everything like that. This is very well put together, and like I said, a lot of fun to play. Like, it feels like a genuinely smooth kart racing game that actually has like a lot of different abilities, and that's not even including, you know, just the variety within the different tracks that seem to capture different elements of like the Disney universe. It does seem like they are focused on certain IP for now, but I would imagine that over time they're probably going to focus on adding additional stuff, because obviously there's, you know, a huge range of differing like Disney characters, universes, and stuff that you can throw into this, right? So for now, it's very impressive. So every area, you know, has a specific style to it. And then on top of that, every area has like all of these different racetrack combinations that really do change things up a little bit further. So we'll do another character. I guess we're able to try some of them out for free or whatever, but you can kind of see we've got like Pirates of the Caribbean, we've got Mulan, we've got Monsters Inc. So, you know, Pixar stuff's present. Goofy's here, The Jungle Book, and you know, Hercules, Beauty and the Beast. So it's like, you know, there's a lot to enjoy in this one, and a lot that it actually has to it. And then you've got these fantastical sort of like themed worlds too, which are really interesting. Like, again, like I said, it's using Disney IP everywhere in the game. From like, you know, oh, that was actually really neat. From the tracks to the characters to the customization elements, it's you know, there's a lot going on there, and this map in itself is just absolutely fascinating too. The whole, you know, kind of like old school black and white stuff with bits of like color infused as well in there. it's really, really quite interesting. And then they've also got all of these great different kind of like abilities and power-ups you can use and unleash upon, you know, your competing foes. I see it being very, very good for the younger audience, but it's also something that, you know, I myself, you know, playing so many kart racers over the years, I'm kind of looking at this and I'm like, this is very, very sleek. This is very, very well done. I think this one has a whole lot of potential to be a very, very large title, just in terms of, like, you know, the interactivity and stuff like that. And as long as they do, you know, continue to kind of, oh no, that's not good, you know, provide content and stuff in this one, I think this one could have a very, very healthy lifespan to it, because it's a quality racing game, is what it is. It's a very, very quality racing game. And, you know, already, despite it kind of being like a early access thing, like I'm kind of personally in the belief that a lot of like preview titles or early access stuff is kind of, or betas, is just kind of like a way to avoid, or evade, I guess is a better word, criticism and stuff like that. So I'm not a huge fan of it, or a fan of that concept in general for games. And I'm kind of looking at this one and I'm like, you know, I'm not really sure why it necessarily needs to be in preview. I mean, there definitely seems to be some additional like modes and stuff that they're kind of noting as wanting to like add based on what I'm seeing in the menus. So that could be that aspect of it, but like you know, as far as like a core component going on here, they've got a plethora of track options. They've got a ton of different racing things. There's a lot of really good content in this one. Like it's something that you can play an absolute ton of. And like I said, you could just jump in and do the free kind of play racing quick options if you just want to race like locally, race against AI, race against others, you know, do the multiplayer stuff. There is, you know, that campaign aspect to it, I guess you would call it, where you do the different chapters. So I mean, you know, there's stuff in there that you can dive into and play. Like there's a lot there, and you can get like different rewards. So as you are going in, you can kind of like, you know, every so often after so many races, you'll get like a bonus like crate, and you'll get some like cosmetic type things to customize your personalize your vehicles. Because yeah, these carts obviously are completely customizable, right? Like you can change the coloring, the style of them, you know, the backplate stuff. You can customize your character as well, your Disney character, giving them different outfits. Like it's just, like I said, it's really, really well put together. It's genuinely an impressive racing game. Like I was literally sitting there doing the tutorial starting thing, and I was like, oh, this is very, very impressive. I was like, huh, okay. And then I'm sitting here kind of looking around at it, taking a look at everything, and I'm like, okay, no, they've definitely got this going on. So, oh, that was very close. And it feels competitive too. Like it feels like you could still win, normal-wise. And but you could also lose at any point if you don't quite deliver on, you know, whatever. But yeah, you get all these different like places. Like look at all these different maps. Let's go to Toon Village, and then like, you know, completely different racing track options. Let's crank it up to the full amount of CPU kind of racing options, and let's put on another character, Elizabeth Swan. See, also very interesting, perhaps strange choices as well for the characters. Like obviously there's just a huge catalog of like Disney characters they can add into this game. So it is interesting to see their choices. Oh, I really messed up that kind of launch, because you get such a good boost. I'm sure you saw that in the other races I was doing. Such a good boost on things. But yeah, there's a lot of characters where I'm kind of sitting here and being like, oh, this would be really cool to see. And you know, because it's like it's a kart racer. You're racing around in a vehicle, so it's not like the personality of the different characters matters too much. But you know, it is kind of cool seeing them in there. They do have their own little like flares and, you know, look and everything like that. So that's kind of nice. But it really does seem like it's something that they can expand upon quite a bit and just add more and more Disney universe type stuff. You know, with all those different IPs that they own, there's a lot that they can, you know, kind of supplement this game with, and I think they probably will over time leverage that. And I also just gotta say the differences in like the racing tracks and stuff like that. There's, you know, such a varied selection of them, and they're filled to the brim with like kind of like particle effects and stuff, if that makes sense. Like, you know, there's usually like rain or weird lighting or really, you know, interestingly done, like reflections and whatnot. Like it's a very stylized kind of racing game. I'm sure you've been seeing that if you're at this point. Like visually, I am quite impressed by how this one looks and how this one plays. And then there's these elements of gameplay where it's kind of like you can veer off and, you know, do like a side path, or there's like these rails that you can use. I think we've used one or two of them you've seen prior. But yeah, it's just like shortcuts. That's the word I'm trying to look for. That's a proper karting word is the shortcuts. So yeah, this is very, very creative. And I'm also just kind of fascinated by the fact that we're seeing such a recent push by like Disney to do games again, if that makes sense. Like we've seen numerous, you know, Disney games over the years, but they kind of like stopped for a good point. Like there wasn't a whole lot, you know, maybe in the realms of mobile gaming, sure, but like, you know, console and stuff like that, we haven't really seen too many options for Disney stuff. And it's just like all of a sudden it's like bam, 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 we're getting, you know, it must be part of a new strategy or something like that. But I'm really, really digging what they put together here. Like just the presentation, from like the music to the action to the way the cars handle. Like the cars handle beautifully well, and I haven't even really been like, you know, doing the whole sliding thing, because that even is more impressive, is when you kind of do your slide moves and stuff like that. I kind of focus more on making sure that my kart is going straight, because, you know, I'm effective enough at that. But if you're doing like, you know, high tier competition, obviously the power sliding is a big thing too, right? Especially if you've played other kart racing games. Obviously, Crash Team Racing would be one that definitely comes to mind for like where power sliding is like kind of an essential thing on that one. But yeah, it's definitely present here. I think I can compete without it. It's just like it's probably a slightly more complex element for the younger ones to do that kind of thing, but I don't think it'd be too hard for them to, you know, kind of master and get used to. Oh geez, I wanted to hit that rail thing. But yeah, they've just got like a lot of customization stuff, a lot of upgrade stuff. I mean, it is free to play, so, you know, if you want like characters and things like that for certain types of stuff, or like leveling characters and improving stuff, you're probably gonna have to buy like certain levels of packs. There's probably gonna be like long-term editions that you probably have to buy into. There's like, you know, kind of getting the stuff to improve your car. So, you know, if you're really getting maybe serious into this, you'll have to like slightly be careful perhaps and really look into microtransactional type elements. But like, you know, if you want to come in here and just like race, it seems to really offer, you know, quite a lot to enjoy. Oh, we should be Monsters Inc. Oh, Goofy. We'll do Goofy. But yeah, I really love the fantastical elements of it. Like, it looks dense too, right? Like, I think you've been seeing that as well, as like the environments really have like a lot going on in them. You know, there's a lot in the backdrop. They seem to capture the magic. Oh yeah, there you go. The magic of the different like universes and stuff, but also make everything like a cohesive visual setup. I'm just really, really quite impressed by this. I hope that's kind of coming across, as I'm like, this is really, really fun to play. Like, I'm having an absolute blast here, just like racing along, and there is a lot to enjoy that's like as part of this one. And it's like, you know, we don't get kart racers to the degree that we like used to, or at least it feels like we don't. We started to get some more recently, I've noticed, like different attempts at doing kart racers. But yeah, this one like really feels like a super high quality, prestigious kind of like take on it. Which I guess is kind of expected if you're, you know, kind of using the Disney IP. I'm sure they have a lot of quality checks, especially in like the modern era for stuff. But yeah, they appear to have absolutely nailed this one. Again, I think the long term is going to be like, you know, how much does this continue to grow? How much do they keep adding to this? How frequent are additions and changes to the game? You know, how frequent are we getting like additional, I guess you would say, kind of like tracks and, you know, new characters to enjoy? You know, what kind of alterations to the gameplay mechanics are we going to see? You know, I mean, obviously the polish here is top notch, so it's not like they really need to work on it from like a technical standpoint. You know, they've got that all handled out perfectly. It's just like how much further will they take things like new power-ups, stuff like that, new modes. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Which is again the whole point where it's like early access stuff where I'm like, it feels pretty feature complete, and you know, it's kind of like, okay, you know, what else are you aiming to do with this? And that's something where I'm kind of sitting here just kind of being like, I'm interested to see how that goes, and to see what else they actually do end up adding to this. Because, yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you're still at this point of it, you know, checking things out and getting a full look at the game, you've probably sat there thinking like about one or two of your favorite Disney franchises that might like would be neat to pop up here. And it's like, you know, are they just strictly gonna kind of stay with like the Disney Pixar thing, or are we gonna get, you know, maybe some Marvel, maybe some Star Wars stuff would be a little fun. I really am not sure what they're allowed to use or what they're going to be adding, but it's really cool as a foundation. Like, this is just an absolute blast. And I like that it's, you know, it's obviously something I think the younger audience can jump into and have a lot of fun with, but it's also something where I'm like, you know, as an adult, I can sit here and be like, yeah, this is really smooth. This is really well put together. This is actually really fun to play. And I feel like there's a good amount of challenge, but it's also like, you know, not necessarily too ridiculous unless I really pump up that AI difficulty. So yeah, it seems to have quite a lot to it, and I think your seriousness is obviously going to change a bit based on like, are you trying to like get the online cutting edge of stuff, or you know, trying to really make your cart powerful and strong? Like, are you going to spend all this time working through the campaign stuff? You're going to buy additional, you know, packs and get different characters, or are you just going to jump in and do like free play racing and stuff like that? So it's nice that they offer everything. Like, it feels well balanced in that regard, because, you know, for a lot of free to play games, that is something that, you know, I have to definitely think of when I'm showing these off and talking about them, as being like, you know, what's it at now? What does it kind of look like their plans are? From like a microtransactions element, you know, how does that impact the gameplay? So for now, it seems like this is very good. It seems like they've kind of nailed the overall game. So very happy with it. Seriously, I was just like literally one of those. It's one of those games where it's sort of like the moment you start it, you're like, wow, this is a lot of fun. This is really good. They did it. And you know, it's not too often you get that. Some games, you know, it takes a little bit for you to really get into, and I think that's with anything that you kind of check out or enjoy in life. But like, from the moment I was kind of like racing around, I was like, this is very smooth, very sleek, you know, very well done handling and controls, and everything just like feels really good to play. So yeah, I'm really kind of blown away by this. I would definitely say this is going to be something that's like worth, you know, checking out and taking a look at, because it is a very good racing game. I think the potential for this one is just kind of absolutely endless at this point. They got a good selection of characters, a good selection of tracks, cool, really cool tracks. Like, I mean, like, this is so neat. Like, also the ones I've seen, I think maybe the Steamboat Willie one might be my favorite, just because it's like they're using different types of art styles, and that's really what kind of neat and fascinating to me, is like that difference in, you know, kind of the world and stuff like that is very cool. But yeah, you just like flow around these really well crafted tracks, battling against your favorite Disney characters. Like, I mean, I'm competing against Mickey Mouse right now in cars, and it feels like a game from like an earlier era of gaming where they did more kart racers, but it's, you know, it's modernized. It's sleek, it's fast, it's accessible to dive into. I'm really intrigued to see what other types of like Disney games are going to be coming down the line. It's kind of an exciting time again in seeing like Disney properties being used, because I mean, look, this is awesome. it's really quite entertaining, and good enough challenge, good enough balance. It's very well all put together. It's just going to be coming down to content, and, you know, how aggressive microtransaction elements will be in the long run. But for now, yeah, very, very great. Awesome game.